I started doing something unusual recently, which is trying to estimate the value of the work I'm doing, because I have this problem of working too fast and then more. It just adds more tasks. You're just gonna burn out without ever getting noticed. You have to know your value, so they say in the smart people books. And here's an approach I've developed to do that. One thing is optimizing a structure, this finite element methods. And in some cases, it depends on the case, but in unique structures or components, you can sometimes find a way to reduce the material consumption by something like 25% and reduce the number of folding operations and welding operations. In one case, the welding can be reduced, for example, 16 times. So your manufacturing time is reduced by 16 and material consumption is reduced by 25%. So you can still sell the thing if you were selling it for pretty much the same price, but manufacture it 16 times faster and 25% less material costs. So that's not a bad profit margin, 16 times more profit, right? In other cases, different materials have different holding capacity, different strength. So I did this quick analysis of the highest and lowest, like reduced by a coefficient in a standard, or just highest and lowest in a certain range of properties. For example, this is carbon and different type of glass fiber. Now it's pretty hard to estimate the prices. They are all over the place and depend on the local supplier, but you can do this thing where you take the highest material strength in megapascals and the lowest price. Assume the best case, the max strength, lowest price, and then do the opposite. Lowest strength, highest price to get the least efficient one, and then they have different densities. So a low density means you get a big area, which means you can have the stress distributed on a larger area and producing a larger force. So you normalize this thing and you can end up with a coefficient of megapascals per dollar. How much strength you get per dollar. That's technically a pretty good way to compare cost efficiency potential of a structure, and some materials stand out. Now, not all materials are equally easy to work with. Like stainless steel is nice, it doesn't harden when you weld, it's very ductile, flexible, so you basically just cut, weld and go. With carbon steels you gotta paint them, and there are certain concerns. Design is a little more tricky, and then you have plastics which are limited potential, but they're dirt cheap. Then you have things like carbon composite, glass composite. Those are tricky because you have to add extra manufacturing stages. For example, if you attach it to steel or plastic or whatnot, you gotta glue it and prepare the surfaces, and then curing procedures, often heat treating, all kind of things. So it's fair enough that it's 5 times stronger, but it also takes 5 times longer. You add a second layer of procedures which can be like 4 times as long as just making the structure initially. So I reduced that estimate of price per dollar, strength per dollar, by this coefficient here, technically. And concrete is also like that. It needs molds, it needs curing, it needs special care mixing. It's not like you just stamp, cut, weld, go. And then also, if you use concrete with steel, you need special care of the joints, the stress distributions, the rebar, and similar thing with glass composites. You cannot just you cannot push it. It's kind of like a string, so special care needs to be taken. Still, even with these reductions of 5, these materials are very competitive. If you normalize everything by the reference of stainless steel, you get up to 1100% more cost efficiency, your product could be up to 10 times cheaper and still sell for almost the same price as it does the same function, and you would get a tenfold price margin benefit. And in one case in particular, I managed to reduce the material cost, reduce the steel used by 70%, only 30% of material remains, so there's this custom mix. And by strategically placing the materials based on their properties, you can have it all over the place. So if this goes to zero, if we end up eliminating the steel completely, you can have this full 11 or 10 pure concrete, pure composite, or if it's reduced by half, it's of course half. So that's a pretty big margin. And I'm thinking now, I did this 70%, okay, 800% improved design in about 30 hours. So what does that add to the client? And if the product was $20, now it's around $4 per piece. 100,000 units, that's $1 million each year for a long time. That's kind of funny that it adds up to about 1% from a million. That's 10,000. 10,000 in 30 hours. That's $300 per hour at 1% value.